A learner investigates the relationship between the observed frequency and the frequency of sound waves emitted by a stationary source. The learner moves towards the source at a constant velocity and records the observed frequency Fl for a given source frequency Fs. This process is repeated for different frequencies of the source, with the learner moving at the same constant velocity each time. The graph below shows how the observed frequency changes as the frequency of sound waves emitted by the source changes. Name the phenomenon illustrated by the graph. Whenever we see terms like frequency of a listener or frequency of the source, the first thing that comes to mind is the Doppler effect. And you would get a mark for writing this as an answer. However, figuring this out directly from the graph is not possible. According to the graph, the listener's and the source's frequencies are directly proportional. Without specific values displayed on the graph, you might even think they are equal to each other, especially when both the listener and the source are not moving. Doppler effect is the apparent change in the observed frequency due to the relative motion between the source and the listener. The key phrase here is the relative motion. But the graph doesn't tell us anything about the motion, so you can't just look at the graph and name the phenomenon. In other words, the question itself isn't quite correct if you look closely. Thankfully, the second paragraph of the question says that the learner, who is also the listener, is moving towards the source. So we can conclude there is a relative motion between them and write as an answer that this phenomenon is the Doppler effect. Still, it is important to understand that you can't get the correct answer by just following the instructions in the last sentence of the question.